What's one thing you're deeply proud of, but would never put on your resume? Not sure if this belongs here, but I'm real proud of an accomplishment I had in 10th grade, a little over a decade ago. Now, I was taking a regular geometry class and we were given our midterm. I got through it quickly, but there was a bonus question on the back. I'm not sure how much it was worth, but the question was basically this. Here's an extremely abstract object. Find its area. Oh yeah, not telling you the length of any of its sides. Have fun. I spent about an hour on this one question. Now mind you, it was multiple choice, so I cold guessed and had a 25% chance. But nah, I wanted to crack it. So I brought out my ruler, drew dotted lines, etc. and got to the answer. When the teacher gave back out tests, he asked those who got the bonus question right to raise their hands. He then asked those who actually worked out the problem to keep their hands raised, and the rest were to lower this. I was the only one who still had their hand raised. Teacher, I gave this question to all of my classes, including my honors students. Out of them all, Mxel is the only one who correctly worked out the problem. Mxel, can you please come to the board and show everyone how to do it? After I copied my work to the board, my teacher followed up with, he's right. Boom. This made my school year, but obviously I'd never put it on a resume, lol. I taught my dog to fetch beer from the fridge. Edit, wanted to add the steps on how I trained her, since I've had a few people ask. She was already really good with fetch, so I used that as a foundation. Step 1. Put the tennis ball in a koozie. Start saying refill instead of fetch. Step 2. After a while, switch out the ball for an empty can. Step 3a. After a while, switch out the empty can for a full can. Rolling it down the hallway. Step 3b. Start with the can already at the end of the hallway and have her bring it to me when I say refill. After that, I followed the steps in this video by Kristen. Christy Jo to work on her opening the door and closing the door. She's a really smart pup, so she actually picked up on opening / closing the fridge pretty fast. I also just wanted to throw out there it was my brother who had the brilliant decision to film this vertically, though I probably should have had him retake it. Shortly after 9/11 I received a letter from the Department of Justice basically telling me to stop making bombs. Context, I was a hobbyist pyrotechnician operating on a very thin legal line. Never did anything malicious with what I made, but they were pretty much 1/4 to 1/2 sticks of dynamite I was making with my own tweaked flash powder recipe. I always order every component separately, so it wasn't being sold in a kit, and followed strict safety protocol during the manufacturing process. All items were detonated on private properties. Well, they raided a bunch of the chemical companies I was ordering from, obtained mailing lists from them all, and found my name on quite a few. Since everything was ordered separately, they couldn't totally prove what I was doing, but they still sent me a sternly worded letter that pretty much shut down my little operation. I had a lot of fun back then, but it wasn't worth pushing the envelope and having the ATF/FBI kicking my door in. I'm still going to get that letter framed, though. I was in a coding prank war with a coworker. I wrote a Windows service that would detect when he closed Visual Studio and change his config to use Comic Sans. I had named the service after our antivirus vendor and installed it on everyone else's machine, but only messed with him so he wouldn't get suspicious. Drove him nuts for weeks before he admitted defeat. I got my cat to understand and play hide and seek. We started doing it when she was a kitten, and it started off as tag. Then she realized she got a reaction from me if I found her hiding anywhere, and I would go, "I found you," in a happy voice. Her hiding isn't the best as she typically will just go under a table in another room or behind a door, but she tries. Then I find her and I go hide in the other end of the house, and she finds me and she runs off to the other side of the house again for me to find her. It's super cute. My other 2 cats have no interest in this game. When I was new to the Air Force, we had a Logistics Compliance Assessment Program inspection, LCAP for short. I had been in my shop about 2 weeks and had no idea what I was doing. It's a pretty tense time, as any failures or infractions can get the hammer dropped on you. My SSGT was showing the inspector, our SMSGT, second highest enlisted rank, our files so he could see if we were storing them appropriately. My MSGT was furiously taking notes. I was looking over their shoulder trying to learn what the hell was going on, and a fart snuck up on me. Being against the wall amplified the sound. It was a good one too, about a 3-second trumpet blast. My SSGT facepalmed and scrambled to open the window. My MSGT was a very intense woman. I learned that day that she was strong in the force as she choked me with her eyes. After a few seconds the inspector just started laughing his ass off, and everyone else followed suit. He grabbed his notepad, thought for a second, and said, "I don't know how to write that up as an infraction. You know what? Here you go," and handed me an LCAP coin. For those of you unaware, being coined is a recognition for an accomplishment. I was one of 2 people in a squadron of 350 to be coined during that 3-day inspection. A few hours later my squadron commander, a major, walked in. We all went to attention, and he put us at ease and said, "Where is he?" All eyes went to me as I tried not to shit myself. He walked up, shook my hand and said, "Son, in all my time, that is the funniest fucking story I've heard at an inspection." So my resume says officially recognized during logistic compliance assessment program for having a positive impact on morale. My performance in robotics class while doing my masters. It was a simple enough thing. Program this box on wheels, mouse, to traverse a maze and map it out, return to the start, then go straight to the exit using the shortest path. Simple enough, though the time constraints and fiddly equipment made it way harder than it needed to be, though maybe that was part of the point. First off, it was a 4-person project. 2 people in my team expressed no desire to do a bloody thing, and good on them, because what little I did get to see of their capabilities from other side projects made it clear they'd have done way more harm than good. The 3rd person was a friend of mine who shared another class with me, and we decided we'd each handle one of the projects almost exclusively. She handled the other class's paper, while I handled this project. Papers aren't my thing, so I was going at this project entirely alone. Second, the equipment was hot garbage, and this is entirely the teacher's or TA's fault. We were supposed to receive the mice assembled properly, so all we needed to care about was the code, but they really weren't. My first mouse had a faulty right wheel, and the replacement I got after I brought it up had the exact same issue. They might have just given me the same one thinking I was lame. The 3rd and final one I ended up getting was a very shoddy piece of work and the balance was way off. It veered to the side, but it wasn't the wheel's fault and the TA refused to change this one. With both of these combined, and some very harsh time constraints, I had to be in the lab after hours a lot of the time. Not only did I get top marks for it despite all this, but my robot outperformed even the TAS that was being used as a reference. I had to give a presentation to the class about the project. I used to think it'd make a good resume addition. It's a nice little anecdote to lighten the tense mood. It shows some skills like working well under pressure and dedication and all that. But I came to learn number 1 gives a flying FK about what you do within the walls of school, so I don't. I do like to remember it from time to time to give my ego a bit of a sorely needed stroke. Oh my god. I have been waiting my whole life for this question. I even mentioned it at the end of the job interview for the company I'm working for now. I'm amazing at guessing the time. For example, if I'm hanging out and someone asks what time is it, without looking at a watch or a phone I can tell you within 5 minutes of the correct time. I'm talking about after a couple hours of not looking at a clock. I'll be less than 5 minutes off every time. I mentioned this in the interview. It was an elithated time, where it was appropriate, after we had already been in there for almost 50 minutes, and as we are shaking hands goodbye, they ask what time is it now, and I was off by a minute. They all laughed, and I swear that's why they hired me. You have had an appointment with the soup doggo. It has made nice hot soup for you. Like and subscribe to show your appreciation of the soup.